Sassy Gold is located in the prolific SK Camp within the iconic Golden Triangle in British Columbia. The SK Camp is a tightly held region that is home to just over a dozen junior exploration companies. Since 2017, 4 of these companies have risen from 10 to 30 million market caps to over 500 million within a very short amount of time. With over 183 million ounces of gold in current 43-101 resources in the SK Camp, Sassy Gold is looking to parlay an unusually quick grassroots gold discovery made possible by receding ice and snow into something much bigger. We're about to dive into a lot more of this compelling story that, as an investor, you won't want to miss. In order to do this, we're bringing on CEO Mark Scott. Mark, welcome.
Thanks, Brandon. Great to be with you.
And great to have you. I'd like to first begin by giving investors an overview of the opportunity at hand with Sassy Gold. Mark, your stock has seen a significant increase in both volume and price since announcing the name change to Sassy Gold and closing your $3.6 million financing. Can you provide an overview of your company for those who may still be new to your story?
Sassy Gold is laser focused on our marquee project, the Westmore Gold Silver Project in Northwest BC. As you mentioned, in the SK Camp of the Golden Triangle, it presents an awful lot of upside potential with the Westmore Discovery zone, where there's high-grade gold and silver in quartz veins, along with VMS and gold and silver enriched VMS targets and other styles of mineralization elsewhere on the 146 square kilometer property. So we're very excited about that marquee direct exploration opportunity. We also have significant equity holdings in 3 companies: Gander Gold Corporation, Galloper Gold, which is still private and will apply to list on a Canadian exchange in the coming months, and Max Power Mining Corp. Then, of course, last but not least, we have the High Rock Uranium Project just south of the historic Key Lake mine and mill site in northern Saskatchewan that gives Sassy a winter drilling opportunity and year-round direct exploration news flow to play off of the summer season in Northwest BC. So it's a pretty neat, high potential package of assets that we've put together in just the 2 years that Sassy has been a public company.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different angles to this company as well, isn't it? And investors, a lot of things to be paying attention to. And I'd like to start first off with your Westmore property. You've already taken advantage of receding glaciers at the Westmore property with your high-grade gold discovery at Westmore in the southwest corner of the property. In 2020, this became one of the quickest early-stage drilling discoveries in SK Camp history after just a few months of fieldwork. How do you plan on making another big breakthrough there this summer? And how close are you to getting to the source of all this widespread gold you can see right at surface?
It is right at surface. The Westmore Discovery Zone is comprised of more than 24 quartz veins that vary in width from a few centimeters to as much as 30 meters visible on surface, many of which contain visible gold and hundreds of high-grade gold and silver assay samples have been taken from those surface showings, those surface outcroppings from those veins. You can see those veins across an area that's about 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer wide on surface and a vertical extent of about 400 vertical meters down the hillside at Westmore to where those veins disappear under the Moore Glacier. And so there are a couple of opportunities at Westmore. One is to define mineable grade and width in the veins as we see them above the elevation of the valley below. Second is to find that significant source of all of that mineralization that at some point, roughly 189.6 million years ago, fed those veins and in place that mineralization. So we're going to keep drilling some of the veins that we know have produced high-grade samples on surface, and we're also going deeper and further down the hillside and eventually out under the ice to track down the source of all that high-grade material.
Yeah, and speaking of millions of years ago, I know that there's a geochronological study that was taken on the rocks there because you want to make sure they're the right age. The reason why this is so important for investors, I highly recommend looking at Brucejack or Snip. You can see the massive gold deposits that they have there, and it's proving that you are in the right time and the right space. It's just before there was glaciers and snow covering it. That's now receding this. That's why you have been able to find this with your team and not someone a couple decades ago or more more when they were looking at that. So very, very excited about that. And speaking of drilling, your drills are moving right now and they're being done on mountaintops. So logistics and infrastructure become such a key component with regard to feasibility of creating a new mine. The question I have for you is, what type of infrastructure does Sassy Gold currently have to work with up at the Foremore property?
Well, the infrastructure in the SK Camp region has really grown by leaps and bounds over the last couple of decades since the original SK Creek discovery. And you have a tidewater port at Stewart just down the road, a Highway 37 that's in very good condition that runs right through the camp. Three relatively newly constructed hydro generating stations and high voltage transmission lines, an airstrip at Bob Quinn, and lots of service providers and a community that's very much in favor of sustainable development in the area. So, at large in the area, that's the infrastructure that exists, along with plentiful water. It's a great place to be working. More locally, the planned access road for the Galore Creek project, which is adjacent to our Foremore property, runs right through our claims, and in fact, within a couple hundred meters of our campsite, our 20-person exploration camp that we've had there in the same location for the last 3 years. And the planned location of the Galore Creek concentrator, Galore Creek being a project whose resource is some 6 billion pounds of copper and 9 million ounces of gold, 50-50 owned by Newmont, the world's biggest gold company, and Teck, Canada's biggest base metals company. The planned location of their concentrator for that project, when it does get developed, is only about 1,500 meters away from the top of the Westmore Discovery Zone. So the local infrastructure and potential is for mining and treatment and transportation, workforce and service providers is all plentiful. It's pretty ideal in that area, actually.
Yeah, and that can't be stressed enough because you need to have those logistics there. If you do find a deposit and you want to be able to make that in a mine, if there's no roads, if there's no access point, if there's nothing like that, it makes it much less feasible. The fact that this Galore Creek mine is going to be right there, especially that processor or concentrator, I should say, is very, very key for investors to understand. Something that's also important for investors to understand is that Sassy Gold also has large share ownerships in several other companies, in Gander Gold, in Galloper Gold, and Max Power. Can you explain the strategy behind this for investors who are curious as to these holdings?
Strategy behind establishing those holdings, first and foremost, the establishment of the spinout Gander Gold company that came out of Sassy with the properties we originally acquired in Newfoundland, was to provide our investors with sort of a double whammy opportunity without Sassy diluting its share structure by funding all of the work that's going on in Newfoundland. So the scope of the scale of the projects we took on in Newfoundland necessitated it having its own marquee where Sassy can stay focused on the Foremore. Gander Gold, Sassy owns about 35 million shares in Gander Gold, which represents about 48% ownership of that company, and Gander's on track to make discoveries in Newfoundland, and you can see the news that they're putting out now that they have a full year of exploration, early stage exploration under their belts in Newfoundland. Galloper Gold is a newer company. Sassy acquired a number of projects that were adjacent or contiguous to one another, bundled them up, and then sold those properties to Galloper and took an 8 million share position in Galloper. That's still a private company, but it'll apply for listing on a Canadian exchange later this year. And then Max Power Mining Corp, Sassy, optioned its Nickelbat claims to Max Power last year, and they ran a small drilling program last year on that property, and they have some big things in store, we know, for the coming months. So the strategy really for those positions now that those companies are established is that they give Sassy tremendous optionality in terms of non-dilutive financing opportunities. We can in the medium term look to turn some of those positions into cash, or we can hang on for the appreciation we believe will happen in each of those three companies and their market caps, and then realize an even bigger benefit down the road by virtue of that. So We have positioned Sassy for tremendous long-term financial strength, whilst really doing an effective job, we believe, of managing our dilution.
Yeah, fantastic to hear, and appreciate you going into detail on those. Well, we've talked about the geology, we've talked about logistics, we've talked about some of the other companies that you have holdings in, but just as important to this are the people behind it. People are very much such an important aspect to any type of junior exploration or mining company. Can you tell us a little bit about your team and on the ground and behind the scenes, and why you're confident they can lead you to a major discovery in the near future here?
Well, I'm a lucky guy to get to work with such a skilled and experienced team of professionals in all aspects of the business. Our team brings hundreds of years of combined experience to exploration and mining, and finance and marketing, which are sort of the two equally important hemispheres of this business. So our technical team is led by Ian Fraser, our VP of Exploration, who has decades of experience in the field and has been a part of several deposits that have been discovered and brought into production over the years. On the ground, Mike Middleton and his team of prospectors have been critical to the development of the Westmore Discovery zone in particular, and they're that group of four are the four guys after whom we've named the Four Amigos vein that we're drilling as we speak today. And then in the back office, technical support we get from Roniker McKenzie Geoscience in Sudbury and Dr. Peter Lightfoot, who's an SK Rift expert. And then, if you look at finance and board and marketing, we have a great team. Sean McGrath, our CFO, has decades of experience, again, in all aspects of junior exploration and mining, and on through our board with Terry Coughlin and Kate McLaughlin and Richard Savage and our whole marketing team, Terry Bramhall in our investor relations office. We have a really fantastic team that we've put together over the last 3 years, and I'm lucky to work with them every day.
Yeah, very exciting to hear. And it sounds like there's a lot of different aspects that are working for you with Sassy Gold, and very excited to see what happens with that. But all of these things come to a roadblock at times in terms of political and environmental issues. Speaking on that really quickly, what's the current landscape look like for a company in the SK camp like you're seeing right now with Sassy Gold?
Sassy is really fortunate to have a strong working relationship with the Tahltan Nation and Tahltan central government. We have a communication and engagement agreement in place, have had for the last 3 years, that keeps an open and running dialogue going between us and TCG, and ensures that for example, our employment and procurement opportunities are run through their office to make sure that we give every opportunity to local Tahltan owned and Tahltan partnered contractors to bid on the work that we do every season. So we go through that process with them each year and do an annual report out at the annual mining conference in Vancouver in January every year. So we have a good ongoing working relationship with the Tahltan, whose territory our project is located within, and that helps us with permitting and the discussions with the provincial regulators, and it's just the right way to do business. So we're very happy with the relationship we have, and the climate and the approach to the positive approach to sustainable economic development that's being undertaken in the north.
Yeah, very, very important, and glad to hear all of that as well. Well, lastly, I always like to finish off with an important question of asking, what should investors be excited about and looking forward to from Sassy Gold over the coming weeks and months?
First and foremost, the drill is turning at the Westmore Discovery Zone as we speak. The results from the last 2 years have improved upon one another each season. From the first handful of samples from Westmore to drilling it in 2020 to going back last year and generating more pierce points through some of those quartz veins and high grade intersections. We're going back this year to improve on those again and keep tracking down the source of all of that mineralization at Westmore and beyond across the Fourmore property. So we really believe there's some exciting direct exploration results coming, and then of course the indirect benefits that our shareholders will derive from those equity positions in those other companies we mentioned a while ago, we think creates a really high ceiling for Sassy and its shareholders.
Yeah. Honestly, thank you so much, Mark, for your time. Very excited about this. I know as a personal shareholder as well, I'm very excited to see what happens over the coming weeks and months with your company. And as these developments happen and news releases come out, we'll be right here making sure we get you back on into studio to talk about some more. So thanks again, Mark.
Anytime. Thank you.